Hi, I'm Marilyn Sensney from Bakeman Elementary in Fresno Unified School District. And tonight I'm going to read The Pig in a Wig by Alan McDonald, illustrated by Paul Hess, and the publisher is Scholastic. Once there were some animals who lived on a farm in a humble, tumble-down barn. One of them was a pig called Peggotty. Peggotty was a polite, kind-hearted pig, but she was rather proud of her looks, and she spent hours admiring her reflection in the duck pond. She believed herself to be the prettiest, pinkest, most perfect pig in all the world. One morning, some lambs passed the farmyard gate on their way to the fields. Peggotty was gazing at herself in the duck pond as usual. The lambs were very pleased with her new woolly coats and hadn't yet learned any manners. They stopped to stare at her. "Ugly old pig, you're pink and you're fat and you're bad too," they bleated. The lamb skipped off giggling, leaving Peggotty to gaze at her reflection again. Instead of the prettiest, pinkest, most perfect pig, she now saw an awfully ugly, bald pig. A tear trickled down her snout and plopped into the duck pond. Why had she been born bald, she wondered. There must have been some mistake. She dried her eyes and decided to ask some of her barnyard friends. She found the old horse munching hay in the barn. "Excuse me," said Peggotty most politely, "but could you tell me why I am bald?" "Bald? Ah, yes," the old horse said, clearing his throat. "The reason you're bald is that you have no mane," he replied. "And please," asked Peggotty, "is that what makes me so awfully ugly?" "Why, of course," nickered the horse. "There's no finer thing in all the world than a glossy and galloping mane." "I see," said Peggotty. "Thank you." Peggotty trotted into the barnyard where she spotted the marmalade cat curled up in a sunny spot. "Excuse me," said Peggotty most politely, "but do you know why I am bald?" The marmalade cat opened one eye and looked at Peggotty. "The reason you're bald is that you're wearing no fur," she replied. Peggotty nodded softly. "And is that what makes me so awfully ugly?" "Of course," purred the cat. "There is no finer thing in the world than lickable, tickable fur." "I see," said Peggotty. "Thank you." For the rest of that day, Peggotty hid herself from the other animals. It was after dark when she returned to the humble, tumble-down barn. Only the moon was out. "Oh, luminous moon," sighed Peggotty. "Why was I born so bald and awfully ugly?" To her great surprise, a voice replied, "The reason you're bald is that you have no fabulous feathers to flaunt." Peggotty looked up. It wasn't the moon talking after all. It was the singing bird on the roof. "Can you help me?" asked Peggotty most politely. "I've asked everyone why I'm bald and awfully ugly, and they say it's because I haven't got a glossy and galloping mane or a lickable, tickable fur, not to mention fabulous feathers to flaunt. But I didn't see what I could do about it." The cock strutted back and forth on the crest of the roof. "It would indeed be a strange and wonderful sight if a pig could grow feathers," the cock crowed. Suddenly, Peggotty had an idea. Without thanking the singing cock or bidding it good night, she trotted into the barn. All that night, while the other animals slept, strange rustling and scuffling sounds came from Peggotty's corner. When the first sunlight crept into the barn, the cock crowed and the animals stretched and yawned and shuffled onto the yard. Everyone stared at Peggotty. Overnight, she had grown hair, golden locks of hair, as curly as a pig's tail. Peggotty tossed her head proudly and paraded in front of them. Just then, the young lambs passed by the gate, following their mothers up to the field. "Look the pig, shouted one. What's she got on her head? The pig is wearing a wig, they cried. They all crowded around the gate, bleating and giggling at poor Peggotty. The pig in a wig, the pig in a wig, they cheered. Peggotty's pink face turned red. She spun around and fled up the hill. She didn't stop running until she reached the big farmhouse at the top. There she crept into the shadow of the wall and wept. Tears ran down her plump cheeks, and the straw wig lay crooked and crumpled on her head. Wah, wah, a voice wailed nearby. Peggotty sniffled and listened. It was coming from the farmhouse. Hush, hush, my darling. Don't cry, cried Precious, another voice sang. Standing on her hind legs, Peggotty could see just inside the window. The farmer's wife sat on the floor washing something in a tub. In the tub of water lay a baby human. Its eyes were screwed up tight, and its two tiny hands waved in the air. It was pink as Peggotty, but what surprised her most was this. The baby was completely bald. It was pink, plump, and perfectly hairless human. The farmer's wife tickled the baby's round tummy. You're beautiful, my beautiful angel, she cooed. The baby began to gurgle and giggle. Peggotty pressed her face against the glass, smiling back. At that moment, the farmer's wife looked up and saw the bewiggled face at her window. Help, she screamed, a horrible, hairy monster. Peggotty fell over backwards with fright. The crooked and crumpled wig fell off. She left in the mud and galloped through the gate and back down the hill. That night, Peggotty told her story to the other animals in the humble, tumble-down barn. And so, she concluded, if you are hairy humans, think you are a horrible monster. But if you're bald, and here she blushed modestly, they call you an angel. And they say you're beautiful, she added, holding up her head a little higher. Peggotty had never worn a wig since that day. And she doesn't believe that the finest thing in all the world is a glossy and galloping mane or a lickable, tickable fur or fabulous feathers to flaunt. She thinks that pigs are born just perfect. The end. So you know what, boys and girls? We're all born just like we are, and that makes us perfect, just the way we are. Bye.